portion of our discussion. Doctor?
Well, if Meir Kahane does not think that the United States is an ally of Israel, I don't know who would. I mean, I don't see any point of disagreement in that. But my point, my presence here is to highlight one point, and that is there are people at the present time in the occupied territory that are suffering because of Kahane's and his likes, and there has to be a stop to it. If our interest, that of the United States or the entire world, is peace, there has to be an end to the Israeli occupation.
But if your interest is really peace, will you and your people recognize the lawful, peaceful existence of Israel?
The issue of the lawful existence of the state of Israel will have to come within a comprehensive peace settlement that includes the existence of a Palestinian state as well.
That's kind of like telling your girlfriend you're going to wear a rubber and you don't. You know, I mean, why do you have to have that? Why can't you first say they have the right to exist, all right? And because they have the right to exist, you would like to sit at the peace table with them.
I think that if the question is directed to the representative of the Palestinian people, and that is the Palestine Liberation Organization, then they will receive an appropriate answer for that.
Let me ask you, Rabbi, your idea for moving the Palestinians out of Israel may meet with considerable opposition. What will you say to the Palestinians who refuse to leave? Because you have suggested that maybe they just ought to leave Israel.
First of all, let's get one thing clear. This cop-out of an answer here made it quite clear that the problem is not the West Bank. This man, and quite honestly from his point of view, believes that Jaffa is also his.
My mother was born in Jaffa. What the hell are you talking about?
That's wonderful. I would pay him to come on. I would pay him to come on shows with me. He is Exhibit 1 for Kahane. Because his mother came from Jaffa, he'll never recognize Jaffa as part of Israel. He'll never recognize Israel. And
would you, under a comprehensive peace plan, recognize Jaffa as part of Israel?
If it includes the establishment of a Palestinian state. Yes.
All right, what if the Israelis said, okay, we are going to give you the Gaza Strip as your Palestinian state? What would you say?
You know, you are putting a hypothetical situation that does not...
It's all hypothetical now because no one's sitting down at the peace table.
Let me finish. A hypothetical situation that does not make sense. Simply because at the present time, what the Palestinians represented by the PLO are saying, let us establish a mini Palestinian state on the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and the eastern part of Jerusalem. And once that state is established, and if you want peace, then peace will come along with that as well.
Let's iron this out for just a second, all right? And jump in here, Meir, if you want to, at any point.
Will.
If the deal is made, all right, and the Israelis say they're going to give you the West Bank and they're going to give you the Gaza Strip, don't you think they'd be stupid putting themselves into a pincer movement? You've got them on the left, you've got them on the right, you move in, you squeeze them out.
If I were Israel, I would not worry. Israel has been able to defeat any combination of Arab armies over the last 3 decades. Who the hell is going to be worried?
Well, you know...
They had the West Bank. Everything that he just said that he wants as his mini-state, they had. Why didn't Jordan create a Palestine until '67?
Simply because if you want to talk to the Palestinians, talk to the Palestinians, not Jordan.
Why didn't Egypt, which had Gaza, create Palestine? The answer is that Jordan doesn't want Palestine, Egypt doesn't want Palestine, and hell, I don't want Palestine either.
Don't you really feel, and let's not go back to 1948 to solve this, because we can't solve it in 1948.
But he is going back to 48. His mother came from Jaffa.
Is that a crime?
I understand.
But he's already...
On the contrary.
He's
On
already...
the contrary.
Well, you came from the United States. Do you want the United States, too?
I understand him. I respect him. That's why I know that he'll never give me peace. I understand him. He sincerely believes that all of Israel is his. I understand him.
Now, what's going to happen if you take power in Israel, which is all of the time becoming a more and more of a reality, all right? First of all, that worries me. That worries me because, quite obviously, you don't think of this country as an ally. That bothers me.
I think of this country as every country has interests and not allies.
Sure.
When I say that it is not an ally, what I mean is that when American interests run counter to those of Israel, America quite naturally will follow its own interests, which is natural, which is normal. I expect that. That's why it's not an ally.
But at no time since the creation of the Israeli state has the United States not had interests, as you say.
That's true.
In
And
Israel.
their interests in 1956 caused Eisenhower to pressure Israel to pull out of the Sinai.
Was it Israel's interest that caused them to bomb and kill 37 innocent Americans on the Liberty?
It was a terrible, terrible tragedy, and that's what happens when a spy ship spies. Terrible,
Terrible.
It's a terrible
Even
tragedy.
to your allies.
I agree with you.
allies.
I think it was a terrible, terrible mistake on the part of a U.S. spy ship to be spying on Israel. And secondly, I think it was a mistake bombing that ship. You're right. It was two mistakes.
Okay, we've accomplished
It was
something.
two mistakes.
We've accomplished
But that has
something,
nothing. That has nothing to do with what my friend
again,
over here says.
Again,
And
I
when
have
she
to
says,
say...
the issue is not the West Bank. The issue is the legitimacy of a Jewish state, which he denies. You cannot start from 67. In the 1920s, before there was a Jewish state, they were killing Jews. In one day, in 1929, in Hebron, they killed 67 Jews. Now, who was the Nazi that was inciting them then in 29? Kahane? I wasn't even born yet. So therefore, the essential problem is that there can't be peace. And I say that tragically, because I serve in the Army, and my son does. And I want peace more than both of you want peace, because you both live here, and I can guarantee you will always live here and not there again, that's for sure. So I live there, and I want peace, but he'll never give me peace.
All right, when we come back, we're going to hear about Yasser Arafat's plans. Stay with us. Hey, if you like me at 9, you'll love me at 11. If you hate me at 9, you'll still hate me. All right, everybody, welcome back. Now, we have put Rabbi Meir Kahane in an extremely, for most people, uncomfortable position. But for a gentleman such as himself, it doesn't bother him a bit. Joining us at home base, an old friend of mine, Dr. Mehdi. How are you, Doc? I would say probably one of the most moderate Arabs I have ever met. I want to get back to some of the questions with Rabbi Kahane. It's a well-known fact that while the Jewish birth rate, this is Yasser Arafat's solution, has been declining, the Arab population has been rising. Some even call this Mr. Arafat's secret weapon against Israel. Could this mean the demise of the Jewish state?
It certainly could, which is why they must go.
All right. So what you were saying, Rabbi, so what you were saying is Israel is not a democracy for anyone other than Jews.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. What I am saying is that any Arab who wishes to live in the Jewish state, which is the way it is defined not by Kahane but by Zionism, may indeed live so, but not as a citizen.
Does he have to swear allegiance?
No. No, nothing at all.
Well, in our country, if someone doesn't swear allegiance to our country, we want them the hell out of here.
No. He won't. No one can expect an Arab to swear allegiance to the Jewish state.
That's like saying nobody can expect an Englishman to swear allegiance to the United States.
But you don't. You see, we understand each other, and you can't grasp this. The state
No, I
of
can't grasp that type of inhumanity.
You're right. The state of Israel was founded as a Jewish state, just as the Arab states are Arab states.
But it does not
Most
discriminate
countries-
on the basis of religion.
Tell me something. How many Jews are sitting in the Syrian parliament at this moment?
No, but
How many
Rabbi,
Jews
you
live in
see
Syria?
What
5,000. How many Jews sat in the parliament when there were 35,000?
There was no parliament at the time, you know that.
There was-
It was under colonial powers.
now all this is really irrelevant.
Excuse me
Rabbi,
something.
Rabbi,
When the French left, there was a parliament, and there were 35,000 Jews. How many Jews sat there? How many Jews are allowed by law to live inside Jordan?
You know,
None.
I am really tired of you going back continually to the 20s and the 30s.
I know you're tired.
The issue here is a very simple one.
It bothers you.
There are 2 million Palestinians living under Israeli occupation.
True.
This situation cannot
You're
continue
right.
forever.
You're right.
And
They
your
must go.
solution is an imaginary solution. It will never happen.
But it's
It will never happen.
Mayor Kahane
let
will
me
be the
interject.
prime minister
Let me interject.
of
Every one of
Israel,
us
and it
Doctor.
will happen.
Doctor, Rabbi.
You may have to die.
We will die.
You may have to die.
Let me interject a point for just a second. The rabbi's solution, all right, being a humane man,
Yes.
right? All right. Rabbi's solution
By the way, I
is to
refuse
pay.
to call him rabbi
All right.
in reverence for Judaism.
I won't.
All right.
I won't
That's
call
fine.
you rabbi either. All right.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, fine. But what the rabbi's solution is to pay these Palestinians to move out of Israel. Am I correct?
right.
How is a bankrupt country like Israel, which has no money, going to pay? All right? We American citizens are going to be expected to pay.
I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. 800,000 Jews fled Arab countries, and the Arabs didn't pay them a penny. We'll even it out.
Oh, but you said you were going to pay them. Now you're not going to pay them.
Of course we'll pay them. As soon as they pay us what they owe us, we'll
so
then give it back to
you
them.
have tossed another coal on the fire, Rabbi.
What
Mort,
rabbi?
If
Morton,
I
let me
offered
say a
him
few words.
all the money in not in the world, in the universe, he wouldn't take it because he has national pride. They won't take the money.
Dr. Mehdi, do you have
Absolutely.
national pride?
And therefore, you see what the rabbi is suggesting is unworkable. He wants to buy those people, and he just said that he cannot buy them.
Therefore,
Naturally.
I will then move them out without money.
How are you planning to move us?
Based on a divine right theory, the rabbi starts from the assumption that God has given them this land, a divine right theory,
It's quite true.
which
And
I
there's-
thought
and there's
died
many Christians who
with
believe the
James
same
the
thing, Dr.
Third.
Mehdi.
Christians do also, but you are not a Christian, so you don't understand
I
that.
thought that the theory of divine right died with James the and Hitler.
It is alive and
Even
well.
though it is very
Alive
much
and
alive
well
and well.
with every Bible-believing Christian and Jew. You have a problem. You don't believe in the Bible. This is your
Mr.
problem.
Kahane, you are wrong. I am a Christian Palestinian.
Well, then I don't know
I
what
don't
you're doing
believe
with
what
the
the hell
Bible.
you are saying.
You may not believe that. This is your problem.
Your
It's not my problem.
interpretation is wrong.
You're a non-believing Christian.
How can this
interpretation is
how
wrong.
can this problem be solved, save another war, all right? Here's the problem. If there is another war, obviously America is going to have to become involved. Going to have to become involved.
Why?
Because, let me tell you something.
No.
The world is starting to turn against Israel because of what's going on the West Bank. All right? That's wrong because that creates more hatred.
I don't want one American troop to help Israel. Not one. Not one. Good. Good. You stay there. We'll take care of them. Don't worry about it.
Keep on dreaming.
Dr. Mehdi, you want to say something?
There are two diametrically opposed suggestions. The rabbi wants all of Palestine and forcefully evicting the Palestinians, if has to, We suggest differently that this Palestine shall be for all the Jews and all the Palestinians, AP to AP, all Palestine to all Palestinians, including all the Jews, or including the American Jews.
Well, let's see if we can cut through. Let's see if we can cut through hate here just a second, all right? To the rabbi, question. I don't suppose you'd be too thrilled if your daughter came home and announced her engagement to an Arab, would you? I mean, even if he was a doctor.
Let me tell you something. I wouldn't be too thrilled if she came home with any non-Jew, Arab or non-Arab.
Is that to say?
So therefore,
is that to say
you just keep your hands off my daughter.
I guess we're going to have to stop dating. You know, let me ask you a question. Seriously, again, to Dr. Mehdi, can Arabs and Jews live together, and should they be allowed to marry?
Of course. It is an individual decision. If a boy and a girl love each other, it is their private, individual decisions. They have my blessings. That is the only humane 20th century.
How do you feel about that, Doctor?
I believe that the issue here is not the marriage of a Jew to an Arab.
Exactly right.
The issue here is
But how
the
do you
faith.
feel about it?
How do I feel about
Yeah.
It is an individual decision.
Okay.
If they want to make it, let them make it.
All right.
But the point and the issue here, there are over 2 million Palestinians living under Israeli occupation. There are over 2.5 million Palestinians scattered in some 70 refugee camps around the Middle East. There has to be an end to their suffering. If Mr. Kahane believes in anything remotely close to peace, he would understand that.
All right, you're very concerned about that, and I can understand. Does your concern translate to all people who live under occupied people, such as the Afghans, such as the Irish in Northern Ireland? Are you concerned about them?
But, you know, the hypocrisy, it's a very good question that you asked, and I find it very hypocritical for the U.S. government in so many instances to call mujahideen in Afghanistan guerrillas and freedom fighters, while Palestinians fighting for their homeland are termed as terrorists. You know, they are not terrorists, they're freedom fighters.
Well,
We're going to bring it all back home.
There's a great difference. Why? They're fighting for their homeland. I will. The Afghans never tried to wipe out the Russians. These Palestinians, before '67, tried to wipe out Israel, and they lost. And you can't begin in 1987. You have to begin prior to that.
When you talk
The
about
root
Israel,
of the problem
you
is
mean European
that,
Jews
that
and
these
American
poor
Jews occupying
Palestinians
Palestine.
were...
They're aggressors to
poor
begin with.
Dr. Mehdi,
Well, they're aggressors to begin with. You've been talking.
don't interrupt. I'm
They are aggressors to begin with.
not the Knesset of Israel.
Palestinians are
Dr.
not the
Mehdi, let me hear the conclusion.
Now, the unfortunate fact is that I remember in May of '67, the Arabs throughout the world, Lebanon, Cairo, Jordan, cheering Jews into the sea. That's what he really wants. But however, that's what he really wants.
All right.
I understand that.
But let's look at the mindset. Let's look at the mindset.
Baba,
Can I get in here?
I understand
Gentlemen.
you, and have no fear.
Let's look.
You will live your entire life in this country and not in
Let's
Israel.
let's look at the mindset, all right, if I can, of the Arabs back in 1967, 1947, all right? We're talking about people who were under the yoke of colonialism. By 1967, they felt some national pride. So I can understand the hate that the Jews had for the Arabs and the Arabs had for the Jews. I simply can't understand it being translated in a new generation. You've got young Palestinians on the West Bank who are now doing the fighting, young Israelis on the West Bank who are now taking care of the Israeli response, and it's an over-response.
Not at all.
It's an
It was
over-response.
the same war. There was a
bullets against rocks,
there was
Rabbi?
a Palestinian national movement being. It was a Palestinian national movement in the 1930s, in the 1920s, and earlier. And when Jews came back to their land, they found Arabs who sincerely believed that Jews had no right to be there. This is the problem.
Because you were wanting to displace them.
All right, I want to bring this back home, all right? What does it mean to us? We're going to find that out in the next segment of the program. Stand by. Say, if you like me at 9, you'll love me at 11. If you hate me... Welcome back. Let's move this a little along a little bit, all right? We've got joining us at home base Rabbi and Professor Rosenberg. You're going to tell us, I assume, that hate not only is on the rise over in that part of the world, Arabs against Jews, but that hate is on the rise right in our own nation because of what is going on.
I've been speaking out in Westchester County about the acts of anti-Semitism that have occurred. We have 3 synagogues that have been swastikaed, a number of churches, interestingly enough, that have had swastikas put upon them. And at least it is my opinion that anti-Semitism is on the rise, not only in Westchester County, but also in Crown Heights and Williamsburg, in Borough Park. And it's very interesting to note that Jews are killed, as in Borough Park. Jews are maimed, stolen from. Everything happens. And you know, the police
that happens
say,
on the subways to all of us.
well, that's true. Except there's one little difference. In the case of a chassid with peyote sideburns, and the man was killed. In fact, they just observed the 30th day of his mourning period. You know that the police said this was not an act of anti-Semitism. Oh, no. Nothing was stolen from him. Nothing was taken from him. He was killed, but it wasn't an act of anti-Semitism. But let me tell you something else. If this happens to anyone else, if it happens to a black person who I admire, the whole world will go to bat. But if it happens to a Jew, everyone remains quiet.
Why did you have to say who I admire?
I admire black people today because they know what it means to take power. They know what it means to make certain that the world reacts. And for that, they deserve my respect.
All right, let me ask you a question. Rabbi Kahane has told us that, and we have heard a number of times, that the Arabs are multiplying. This seems to be the same argument that some of the racists in this country used about the blacks, all right? The blacks are multiplying as fast as flies. What the hell are we going to do about it? I'm not sure if it's Hasidic Jews, but there is one area of Jews that their sole purpose in marriage is to have as many children as they can. I mean, something in there about as many children as there are stars in the sky. I mean, if that's their purpose, how come the Arabs are beating them out?
Well, Mort, let me tell you something. My parents were in the Auschwitz concentration camp, and I lost my grandparents, my uncles, my aunts, my entire family. And I don't know about anyone else, but I already have 3 children, and I'm continuing. And my message to all Jews is populate, populate, and populate.
Dr. Mehdi, your response?
Let me add my strength
Going
to
to be a
the
lot of
rabbi
messing around going on, I guess.
and condemn unconditionally any act of anti-Semitism anywhere. Anti-Semitism being an act against the Jews because they are Jews.
Or against Arabs. They're Semitics, too.
Well, today within the American vocabulary, anti-Semitism has come to mean prejudice against Jews. So, of course, we are against any prejudice towards anyone. But in this particular case, I join the rabbi in condemning anti-Semitism. Those anti-Semites are not my friends. They are my enemies. Anti-Semitism, actually, is the mother of Zionism. If it were not for Hitler, the Jews would not have gone to Palestine. So we condemn anti-Semitism wholeheartedly. And
Rabbi Kahane,
I mean, that's such nonsense. It's really an incredible thing. Long before there was Hitler, it was Herzl. And long before there was Herzl...
He didn't succeed.
We had already 500,000 Jews in the land of Israel before Hitler. However, my great-grandfather was born there. In any case.
Rabbi, what a line.
Dr. Mehdi, up until now, we have been friends. Never, ever call me a liar again.
Rabbi, you know, whether you like it,
getting back to this here point.
whether you like it or not.
Dr. Mehdi is not a moderate. He's just a clever Arab. That's all he is.
All right, well, you know,
Dr. Mehdi does not accept a Jewish state anywhere of any size. Is that not true? And don't lie.
Rabbi, are you praising me or condemning me with your attack?
Praising you. I am praising you with very, very faint praise. Now listen to me.
Let me ask you.
Is that true, or say yes or no?
Rabbi,
Are you prepared to accept a Jewish state of any size or shape?
I have
yes
told
or no?
you clearly hundreds of times, a Jewish state, no. The Jewish people, yes.
Fine. A Jewish
The
state,
Jewish
no.
people, yes.
Now, let me get in here. I'm on the show too, guys. Zip it. Dr. Mehdi, let me ask the rabbi. Rabbi, whether you like it or not, wherever you go, there's controversy not far behind. You're born in Brooklyn. Now you've turned your attention back. Now you've turned yourself back to, to the United States in some respects with your anti-Jesse Jackson campaign. Why are you, an Israeli cabinet member, so concerned with an American Knesset? Why
Cabinet
are you
member is going to be soon.
Why are you so concerned with, with American presidential candidates?
Because
Why do you still
Jews
have the passport, by the
are
way?
concerned about Jews, no matter where they are. The American Jew concerns me. The Soviet Jew concerns me. Just as I would expect a good Catholic to be worried about the persecution of Catholics anywhere and everywhere, and not just in his country. To me, Jesse Jackson represents all that is bad, sick, ugly. He hates white.
Wait a minute.
He hates Jews, he hates white.
I would like to make a point.
Not even a second.
Rabbi,
He hates Jews, he hates white, and he's bad.
I want to make a point.
He is bad for America. He's bad for Jews. And therefore, if Jesse Jackson would be white and say half of what he had said, then Jews and Christians would have been tearing down banners.
It's ironic that this man talks about racism and attacks a person like Jackson. The rabbi here indicated how worried you are about attacks against Jews. But this person here and the JDL, the Jewish Defense League, 3 years ago collaborated in killing a Palestinian American on the West Coast.
Has that ever been proven?
I want to tell you something, that tomorrow morning, you are going to be served with a libo suit.
Thank you.
Believe
I have
me,
good lawyers. Thank you.
But I mean it. You are going to be
talk to
served
the
with
FBI about
with a criminal libo suit for
Talk to
what
the
you
FBI
just said
about
now.
it. It's not me.
Thank
It's the
me.
FBI.
You will help the campaign for the
When we come back, my friends, we're going to hear from some of the other real people, all right? Our audience tonight. Stand by. Say, if you like me at 9, you'll love me at 11. All right. Let me get back. Dr. Mehdi has something here that he wanted to show. Would you turn it on this camera, Doctor? Would you do this rapidly, because this isn't an art sale.
The hallmark of Jerusalem is the mosque. This is the Dome of the Rock. This is a mosque. Is not a temple. The New York Times, CBS, NBC, ABC, all refer to this mosque as temple. Please remember, members of the news media, that a mosque is not a temple.
Let me go to these folks at the loudmouths now. Young lady, would you identify yourself by your first name only?
My name is Donna. I'm a third generation in this country, American Arab. Every evening I look at my television set and I see my Arab brothers and sisters being tortured and killed and living under conditions that no human being should be allowed to live under. I look at this and I'm outraged that my tax dollars pay for this and support this treatment of my Arab brothers and sisters. Where is democracy in Israel for the Arabs? Where? It's not there. And when Meir Kahane says that we are not their allies, We support your bankrupt government. How much more of an ally do you want us to be? I am not here, but I want to say one thing before I stop. I am interested in peace, not because I was beaten in 1967, not because I was beaten, you know, it had nothing to do with that. I'm living for today. I'm caring about those people that are dying today. I want it to stop. I want peace. I want a homeland for my Arab brothers and sisters, and that is not too much to ask. And I recognize the state of Israel.
Young man.
My question is to Rabbi Kahane. As an American citizen, Rabbi Kahane, you've enjoyed democratic rights. You've tested our government. You fought for the rights of prisoners to have kosher food. Also, when your citizenship was in danger, you fought successfully in American courts to retain your citizenship. Yet in Israel, not only do you espouse throwing the Arabs out, you're for the creation of a theocracy, which is opposed by many Israelis, including Orthodox Jews. How do you reconcile the fact that you, who have enjoyed democracy in the United States and grew because of democracy, espouse non-democracy and a theocracy in Israel?
All right,
on a personal...
Good for you, sir.
Have a follow-up on that.
Let him answer the question. Let him answer the question.
I'll answer that question but first just one footnote. There won't be a single Arab getting up now, a single guest here, attacking any of these Arabs. The sickness of Jews is that here is a Jew with a yarmulke.
He's a free man.
Excuse me, Dr. Mehdi, who knows that an Orthodox Jew must espouse a Jewish state, a theocracy, must espouse it.
Not true. Most Orthodox rabbis are against it.
Excuse me. I don't want to argue with you on Judaism because it would be a very, very pitiful battle. Now,
I don't know about that.
the fact of the matter is, the state of Israel, not founded by Meir Kahane, but by a socialist government, declared Israel to be a Jewish state and not the kind of a state that exists in this country. If you don't grasp that, then my question to you is, are you prepared to allow the Arabs democratically, without violence, to be the majority in Israel and vote Israel out of existence as a Jewish state? Yes or no?
I think the question requires more than a yes or no answer, Rabbi Kahane.
In short, he has no answer.
Not true.
Yes or no?
Rabbi Kahane.
Sir, go ahead. Let me hear you. Let me hear you right here.
My name is Hani, and I am a Palestinian Arab. I just have an issue with Rabbi Kahane, who stated that the U.S. or Israel does not owe the U.S. anything. As a matter of fact, that Israel is paying the U.S. in its strategic influence for Israel. As a matter of fact, Israel receives $4.1 billion annually. That is $9,875 for every Israeli child, man, and woman. That is our tax money. And the United States government, in its bankrupt policy, gives the U.S., the Israeli lobby in this country, a virtual veto power over its policy.
Quickly, I want to hear from the rabbi. I want to hear from, and I want a quick answer, Rabbi. We need to take a break.
My program is, when I am the Prime Minister, we will ask this government to stop all economic aid to Israel.
You'll die, Rabbi!
All right. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Stand by. We'll continue this discussion. Hey, if you like me at 9, you'll love me at 11. If you... Quickly, let me hear from the rabbi.
I think it's very interesting to note that the American press is doing what the Arabs could not do, which tried to destroy Israel, and the American press should be condemned. It's very interesting to note. Yes, it's very interesting to note. Very interesting to note that when Jews are hurt, and when Jews are killed, and when Jews are massacred by Palestinians, they don't say anything. But if anything happens to the Palestinians, it hits the front page.
I sincerely do not believe that, all right? I do not side with the American press in many instances, but I got to tell you, I think the American press has dealt with a very even hand on this subject. I think with a very even hand, and if anything, they have been more repressive of the Arabs than they have of the Israelis. Now, as far as the comment, shut up. As far as the comment that's made, as far as the comment that is made, that we are on Israel's side because of our own strategic interests, I think there's some validity to that. I also think there's validity to the fact that we're powerful enough to turn any nation in that area of the world into an ashtray and thus into an airport. It's a civil war in the Middle East, my friends. They've got to settle it. America, unite. Help settle this thing. Good night, everybody.